How does the story begin for you?
Well, let me just go back one step further. I mean, I think that when I write an essay, I am certainly, the motive for an essay is certainly something that I perceive or think about, or it's a set of problems which generates another set of problems and another and another and another, and then I find a pretext to talk about these problems in a particular work of art or situation or idea or whatever. But when I'm writing an essay, I am asking myself all the time, is it true what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, is it really like that? And that is the same question as, can I say it better? But the question of how I can say it better, in a more complex or subtle or eloquent way, that question is identical with, or goes side by side with the question of whether what I'm saying is actually true, whether
Yes,
it makes sense,
yep,
whether
yes.
whether it is even in some cases whether it's helpful to people. So, for instance, the question of intelligibility is very important to me when I'm writing an essay. But above all, the question of truth. I mean, to write an essay is to feel immediately responsible to something that, well, one calls for,
And when you
lack
write
of a better
fiction,
name,
it's not,
truth.
it's not...
No, it's not. No, I think when I'm writing fiction, well, there's always a sense of responsibility, because I think both you and I are the kind of people who feel and take on responsibilities with great avidity. But it isn't to some idea of the truth, except in a very ultimate and almost tautological sense. I think that when I move to write a story, it's not because I've heard a story, because I've heard, like everyone else, thousands of stories. It's because I hear language in my head. I hear a sentence, and I hear a voice. I hear voices, and then sometimes I just have a first sentence.
and you go on hearing that voice?
Yes,
So
the voice.
it's like a dictation.
Yes, a dictation which then I can revise many times. But I mean, I remember one story, I heard a sentence in my head, I went to see the beautiful things. And then another voice says, no, the voice says, I went to see the beautiful things, and you know? And then another voice says, what? And then the first voice says, they're still there. And then the other voice says, but they won't be there for long. And I said to myself, who are these people? What are they saying? What are they talking about? And so it isn't exactly dictation, it's more like induction. Given the fact that I now have 4 lines on the page, what can I make of this? And sometimes I have to stop, and it takes days before I can figure out what the next line is. Or sometimes I go 5 pages and I'm stopped. The voices aren't talking anymore. Or in the case of one story, I heard the last line. The last line was, Sisyphus, nothing but nothing can tear me away from this rock. And I thought, now who is this grim stoical person who is proclaiming his or her fidelity to an unbearable situation? And I began to reason backward. Well, it could be a story of someone who, etc., etc. So for me, it's absolutely a process of invention, and one intimately connected with language, with tone, with voice.
I mean, maybe it's very interesting that, because it is, once more, and we've often touched upon this, because maybe we arrive at something quite similar, but it is the reverse process. I mean, for me, there's never that voice at the beginning. There is the enormous difficulty of seeing that situation, that person, of following
I don't
them.
see, I hear.
No, I see.
That's perhaps why I like to make movies, because I don't see, I only hear when I write, and therefore I want very much to see, and that I like to do with images.
And then when that
with
person
language.
is really there, which is probably in the real time of writing, somewhere around about 2/3, not necessarily 2/3 of the text, but 2/3 of the writing time, the months or the years, then suddenly the voices come. And then I just write. I mean, but they come after the situation or the people have been established, not before.
No, for me the people come out of the language. I feel...
And for me, the language comes out of the people.
I think